gathering and settling, take a moment to turn off your cell phone or put it on vibrate. It is so very nice to see each and every one of you here in the sanctuary on this beautiful spring morning. My name is Kathy Frazee, and on behalf of the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Flint, I would like to welcome those of you joining us online and those of you here with us in person. Our congregation is a progressive community in which people are free to be themselves without fear. If you would like more information about Unitarian Universalism or this congregation, please talk with one of our ministers, the Reverends Lynn and Jerry Kerr. Their contact information can be found at uuflint.org. If you are a visitor this morning, we extend an extra warm welcome to you and hope that you join us downstairs after the service for coffee hour. If you would like to receive our weekly email newsletter, please fill out one of these information cards that you'll find in the seat back in front of you. Today's announcements are listed on the back of your order of service, but I am going to highlight two of those announcements this morning. This Friday, our Tales and Tunes event is finally here. If you have an auction item to offer, please get it to the office by Thursday, April 20th, before 4 p.m. We have a new crop of storytellers sharing adventures and secrets this year. I just found out this morning that Bob Olson is one of the storytellers, so I'm excited. And music from Dan Garrix and the McSpillin and Then Some Band will be playing our music. If you are confused about how the raffle ticket drawings will be done, come down to the Tales and Tunes table during coffee hour and see it in action. You can also purchase tickets ahead if you would like to. So on Friday evening, bring your lawn chair, some friends, and your preferred beverage and join in on the fun. It'll be from 6 to 10 p.m. Our second announcement is that next week's service is about our labyrinth walkway. We will have special music, and part of the service, weather permitting, will be outdoors right at the labyrinth. So if you've ever wondered what in the heck is the big deal about a winding walkway, please join us and learn the mysteries of walking the labyrinth. We will now light our chalice. What's so funny?
We both got wet together.
Oh. We light this chalice in celebration, remembering that one should wish to celebrate more than one wishes to be celebrated. And now, if you'll join me in reciting our covenant here in the sanctuary and at home, recognizing the richness of diversity, the beauty and wonder of shared worship, and the transforming power of love and service, we gather as a sacred, intentional community to freely seek knowledge and truth, to celebrate the fullness of life, and by our actions to increase goodness and justice.
Our opening words this morning are from Wendell Berry. The world cannot be discovered by a journey of miles, no matter how long, but only by a spiritual journey. A journey of 1 inch, very arduous and humbling and joyful, by which we arrive at the ground at our own feet and learn to be home. Stand, if you like, for our hymn.
There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing. There's a river flowing in my soul. I love that song.
After our words for meditation and our time of silence, you'll be welcome to come forward and light a candle of joy of concern, or you can do that as well at the back of the sanctuary. And also, if you choose to write a joy or concern in one of the books, and we'll make sure it gets into the weekly e-update. At the top of a slope, a pebble lay, at the top of a sandy dune, and he sung to himself a lordly way to a slow and majestic tune. Oh, I am the king of the beach below that curves to the north and the south, and I am the king of the boats that go to the busy harbor's mouth. Yes, I am the king of the swaying tide and the waves that lightly race, and I am the king of the ocean wide to the very end of space. The pebble looked down from his outlook clear on a stone at the foot of the slope. Poor creature, said he, of a lower sphere, condemned to grovel and grope. But some are made to be stately and grave, and some are born to obey. And yonder stone was made for a slave, and I was born to hold sway. A boy just then, with a kick of his toe, sent the stone some inches aside, and down forthwith, reluctant and slow, the cliff began to glide. Higher and higher the movements reach on the dune's steep sloping face, till they touch our pebble of lordly speech and draw it down to the base. There it lies by the side of the stone, and it has not a word to say about the folks who are born to be on a throne and the folks who are born to obey. Let's enjoy the silence. Amen.
story is told of Muhammad Ali at the peak of his career. As he was flying interstate, the captain abruptly announced, "Approaching severe turbulence. Would passengers and crew please fasten your seatbelts immediately?" The crew hurried up and down the aisles to check that everyone was safe before strapping themselves in. One flight attendant noticed that Muhammad Ali had the seatbelt obviously just resting in his lap, and it was undone. "Excuse me, sir," she said, "would you please fasten your seatbelt?" Ali looked at her and calmly said, "Superman don't need a seatbelt." Quick as a flash, she replied, "Superman don't need no airplane."
In 1953, Sir Edmund Hillary conquered Mount Everest with his Sherpa friend and guide, Tenzing Norgay. More importantly to Hillary were his efforts to give back to the people of Nepal something of what they had given to him. He built hospitals, airfields, and schools. On one of his many trips back to the Himalayas, as he was spotted by a group of tourist climbers. They begged for a photo with the great man, and Hillary obliged. They handed him an ice pick so he would look the part and set up for the photograph. Just then, another climber passed the group and, not recognizing the man at the center, strode up to Hillary saying, "Excuse me, that's not how you hold an ice pick. Let me show you." Everyone stood around amazed and in silence as Hillary thanked the man and let him adjust the pick and happily went on with the photograph.
Galileo was one of the greatest scientists ever to have lived. Stephen Hawking wrote that he was responsible for the birth of modern science. Galileo seems to have known of his own greatness and enjoyed flaunting it at the expense of others. The great astronomer was known to refuse to collaborate with his contemporaries, most notably Johannes Kepler, who was considered one of the greatest astronomers of Europe. Galileo once took 12 years to respond to a letter from Kepler. In a moment of unrestrained egomania, Galileo wrote to a colleague, "You cannot help it that it was granted to me alone to discover all the new phenomena in the sky, and nothing to anybody else. This is the truth which neither malice nor envy can suppress."
Sir Isaac Newton was born the year Galileo died. He has been called the father of science. He wrote in 1675, "If I had seen further, it is because I am standing on the shoulders of giants." On another occasion, he described himself as a boy, playing on the seashore, searching for interesting shells and pebbles, while the great ocean of truth lay all undiscovered before me.
A husband and wife owned a posh jewelry store in Sydney, Australia. An American gentleman walked in asking to buy one of the most expensive items in the store. During the credit card transaction, the store's computer froze. The woman stared at the screen in embarrassment. The gentleman leaned over the counter and, with a few keystrokes, was able to get the computer back to life. "You know a little bit about computers, do you?" the woman said. He nodded and continued the transaction and then quietly left the store. When the shopkeeper's husband came into the shop later, she told him about her shame and embarrassment. When they looked at the customer's credit card details on the receipt, they were shocked to read Mr. Bill Gates. There was a Microsoft convention in town. The woman suddenly felt a bit more silly for having asked him, "You know a little bit about computers, do you?" Humility at work? I imagine that everyone gets one or two so-called family letters during the holidays. They go something like, "The Millers have had another momentous year. John expected a raise, but then imagine his surprise when his boss came to his office and told him that he was moving to Fiji, and he begged John to take over the company. The whole office was so thrilled about the whole thing that they all took a collection and gave the whole family a week in Italy to celebrate. We thought that was awfully nice of them." Kate's newfound fame has really had her jumping. You probably saw her interview on CNN after she saved that entire school full of grade school children from the fire. And then to hear that the poem she wrote about it will be chiseled into the wall of the Library of Congress is really just too much. Our adopted triplets did so well at the all-state band competition that James Cameron took notice. He says Raised by Wolves and Being Talented should make for a blockbuster movie. And John Jr.'s science project is the subject of an article in the New England Journal of Medicine. I hope you look that up. Now there is a family proud of its accomplishments. Maybe we'd do the same thing if we were perfect in every way. But it makes you wonder if people like Mozart, Henry VIII, and Marie Antoinette did not understand humility, or they were just raised to be obnoxious. Pride and power oftentimes go hand in hand. But people on top in society sometimes had to step on the ones at the bottom to get there. Unfortunately, we tend to raise our kids based on the win versus lose philosophy. If I do well, someone else is going to have to do poorly. And it starts early. Think about school spirit days, for instance. Everyone's encouraged to wear the school colors, and they make posters about the team winning the big game. And throughout the school, you find images depicting their mascot beating, killing, eating the other school's mascot. When you get to the game in question, it's no better. I will always remember a wrestling match I was at when I was a cheerleader. Yes, there are wrestling cheerleaders in Wisconsin. That's what makes it great. The mother of one of our wrestlers, whom we all knew to be a church-going, well-mannered, proper, and well-spoken woman, screamed for all to hear, "Rip his damn legs off, Kevin! Kill him! Kill him!" I don't know if it helped or not, but I'm pretty sure Kevin did win that one. But this becomes a problem when our sense of self-worth is connected to winning or losing, not our effort, not our courage, and not just giving it the old college try. A family therapist once did an experiment on this with his son's 4th grade class. So what they did is they asked the kids to play balloon stomp. A balloon was tied to each children's leg. And the object of the game was to pop everyone else's balloon except your own. Well, pandemonium ensued as the children started diving at each other, except for a few really scared kids who went to the corners. Now, it was over pretty quickly, and of course, the meanest and consequently most disliked kid in the class was declared the winner. I mean, to win, you had to be relentless and maybe a little violent. This wasn't a popularity contest. So then a second class was introduced to the same game. Everything was the same except one thing. This class was made up entirely of children with developmental disabilities. When they were told to start, somehow they all decided to go around helping each other pop each other's balloons, even going as far as to hold a balloon while another kid would pop it. In the end, they popped all of the balloons and declared themselves all winners, and they cheered proudly and loudly. The therapist wondered if the second class got the game all wrong, or was their act of cooperation a demonstration of the kind of humility that we should show all day, every day? Can we all be better people by stopping to try to win every time? Furthermore, children should eventually learn to understand that when we do stop and help others or get help ourselves, that it shows that we all have strengths and weaknesses. That's what makes us whole human beings. Just like we all discover when developmentally appropriate that we are not the center of the universe. Unless we're only children, then we are the center of the universe. Yet there are still plenty of adults out there that never quite learn those lessons. I heard a pilot that was being interviewed on NPR recently, and he told this self-effacing joke. How do you know when a pilot has come to your party? He'll tell you. Or you may have heard this story that appeared in a 1996 newspaper, but the Navy swears it is not true. Here's the exchange. 2 radio operators, one of them aboard a U.S. Navy ship, had the following exchange. Radio 1, please divert your course 15 degrees to the north to avoid a collision. Radio 2, recommend you divert your course 15 degrees. Radio 1, this is the captain of a U.S. Navy ship. I say again, divert your course. Radio 2, no, I say again, divert your course. Radio 1, this is an aircraft carrier of the U.S. Navy. We are a large warship. Divert your course now. Radio 2, this is a lighthouse. Your call. Like most of life, we should strive for a happy medium when it comes to humility and pride. When they are balanced, We can have the skill to do what is needed, but have enough humility to not endanger ourselves or others. It seems to me that we derailed somewhere between when Pope Gregory I in 590 AD decreed that pride was one of the 7 deadly sins, and modern day, when a parent wants to brag that their kid goes to an Ivy League school so badly that they will pay someone thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to have someone else take their kids' SATs. Deadly sin, or just simply infuriating, pride wins out in my book for causing the most absolute damage to the psyche, the body, and society. I think humility is a characteristic simply vital to grounding us as human beings, both literally and figuratively. My occasional pen pal, Ari Weinswig, co-founder of Zingerman's Restaurants in Ann Arbor, yep, he still talks to me, turned me on to this metaphor. The origin of the word humble is Latin, of course. Humilis, it means lowly, humble, or on the ground, and from humus, earth, the organic component of soil. Ari considers humility as an essential quality of any successful person, and in business as well. This is what he wrote. Perhaps when we are at our most human, we are effectively in a grounded state of humbleness. Humility would be humus, the relatively thin but hugely important layer of dark, rich, organic topsoil in which plants are likely to be at their healthiest. That seems to be nearly a perfect metaphor, to me anyway. To see why, you might need to know just a little bit more about this dirt. Now, it's not much to look at. In classical soil science, humus is the dark organic matter in soil that is formed by the decomposition of plant and animal matter. So we're much more interested in oohing and aahing at the plants that it helps grow. We like the showy, living things it supports, or the food, or the beautiful flowers that it provides. Like humility, although this soil is essential for things to grow, it is the famous people or things or the plants that make the news and keep our lives exciting. But both humility and humus are not out for our attention. Yet there have been many people who have been famously humble. That's why in 1953, the Nobel Peace Prize winner made such an impression on people. He especially surprised those who watched him at a Chicago railroad station after he was awarded the Nobel Prize. As Dr. Albert Schweitzer, humanitarian and physician and missionary, got off the train, officials rushed forward to greet him, and camera bulbs went off in every direction. Everyone crushed in to get close to him, and they just wanted to shake his hand or touch him. And while the crowd yelled to him how proud they were at him and they wanted to congratulate him on his Nobel Peace Prize, the 6-foot-plus tall gentleman thanked them. But he seemed to be peering well over all of their heads and looking at something. And then he excused himself, and he walked right past all the dignitaries there and the adoring public, and he ran to the side of an elderly African-American woman who was struggling with 2 large bags. He picked the bags up, and he helped her onto her bus. Then he walked back to the crowd and apologized for making them wait. One of the dignitaries said to a reporter, "That's the first time I ever saw a sermon walking. That story epitomizes how we can use our power in the right ways to be a humble servant to those in need. But humility is not necessarily something with which we are born, or is it easily attained? Remember, as infants, of course, we are the center of the universe, and we think only of our immediate needs and desires. So we learn humility, and then we have to practice it our entire lives. Like humus, it takes time to cultivate. Humus only occurs after decades of plants and animals and insects have been broken down into the smallest possible molecules. It's a cycle of a seed sprouting to a plant, and then it dies, and then it composts to humus. The other neat thing about it, I think, is that it makes the soil more fertile. And it has a negative charge. Now, what that means scientifically speaking is that the nutrients like magnesium and phosphorus and nitrogen and calcium and iron stick to it rather than being washed away by water. Well, humility, to me, works the same way. A humble person allows people to stick with them because they stand back and they listen to others, they ask for help, they cooperate, they let other people shine, and they enable others to thrive. There's a saying, while you think you are green, you will grow. When you think you're ripe, you get rotten. Humility allows us to open ourselves to growth and love. Philosopher and author Erich Fromm wrote that love requires the development of humility, objectivity, and reason. We can only live the latter two if humility is already in place. That would mean that we cannot have a full and rewarding life if we cannot regularly get ourselves into a state of humbleness, according to Ari. That state is not always easy because a lot of times people are expecting a whole lot from us. A fantastic example happened during the pandemic. You probably all remember Dr. Anthony Fauci, right? Does everybody remember him? So he was the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, and then he was also the chief medical advisor to the president. So Fauci is highly educated, articulate, and some would even say kind of has a charismatic personality. But there were times during some of his press conferences and when he was on the news, when he would be asked a question and he did not know the answer. Although you might think that makes him a smaller person. Instead, it made him greater. It made him humble. It made him more of a leader. People trusted him because he admitted he did not know the answer. But he knew that he had a team of very smart people to back him up that would help him find the answers. And people respected him more for it. Good and humble leaders realize that they cannot know or do everything on their own. One of the most important moments in my career also benefited from me saying, I don't know. So some of you might know that before you start out in ministry, right after or during, right before you graduate from seminary, you see this interview panel of about 8 to 10 people. And they listen to you to deliver a sermon. And then they drill you with questions about anything they want. From history, history, or theology, social justice, or psychology questions. You don't know what they're going to be. So you study and study and study. So I was there, I'd finished my sermon, I was answering questions. I had not slept a wink the night before. I think I cried pretty much the night before, just because I was so nervous. And everything had pretty much gone okay until I got a question about a feminist theologian. Okay, but I had never heard of her. And I wonder if they saw my shoulders kind of slump at that moment, because internally I thought, well, that's it. I'm done. I have no idea who they're talking about. And so I said to them, I'm sorry, but I'm unfamiliar with that person. I studied so-and-so, that feminist theologian, but I'm sure that I could get acquainted with so-and-so's work. So then they asked me a few other questions. The interview was done. I took the elevator down to the main floor of the hotel where they were doing the interviews, and I decided I had failed. And within seconds of getting to the lobby, a person from the panel stepped off another elevator and asked me to go back up. And I thought, well, this is either really good news or really bad news, because they made their decision really fast. Well, since I'm here, you can guess what decision they made. But you know what they told me? One of the reasons that they said yes to me was because I didn't know the answer, and I said so. They said I didn't pretend I knew. I did not panic. I was honest and said, I did learn about someone else, but I could find out about that other person. I had been humble. Since then, I've never been afraid to say, I don't know, but I can find out, except when I'm talking to him. The bottom line is we cannot be all things at all times, but we can work on becoming humble. Ari believes that from that place we are most effectively able to encourage others to live their lives fully and treat them with dignity. But always our own humbleness comes first. Since it is a complex piece of work we do our whole lives, it is impacted by others. He suggested we need to consider authoring a declaration of interdependence that references life, liberty, and the pursuit of humbleness. We just need to remember that pride and humility are on a continuum. So we can write a justifiably proud family holiday letter that won't make people hate us. Well, it might go like this. We hope your family had a good year. The Millers did. John worked very hard and expected a raise this year, but his company went bankrupt and closed last March when the CEO was busted for embezzlement. John is being investigated as an accomplice, but we are confident they can't prove anything. He has always been such a good provider since he got out of prison 5 years ago, and we are proud of him, come what may. Of course, we had to sell our house and move in with Kate's mother, Jane. While this isn't ideal, considering she tried to poison the punch bowl at our wedding, she has mellowed with age and now seldom throws food. She's come a long way, and we're truly happy for her. The transition, however, has been difficult for the kids, especially John Jr. It seems that all kinds of kids were putting the finishing touches on their science fair projects when a fire started. Junior's project was called Rainbow Fire, which is when you show how flames can change color as you burn different chemicals. And he was sure to get an A, but when he fired up his Bunsen burner to the max, it caused a bit of a problem. We're so grateful that he's alive and proud of him for immediately accepting culpability. He's a brave boy. And talk about silver linings. How blessed are we that Kate was on volunteer firefighter duty that day and ran into the building just before it collapsed and got the last child out, John Jr. The newspaper did a huge story because a female firefighter saved her own son, and it caught the attention of the famous director James Cameron, and he came to town and he paid us a lot of money for the rights to the story. It's going to be a great movie. Of course, none of this would have happened if we hadn't trusted Junior to do a very dangerous science project, regardless of his mild pyromania. We can't help but be proud of the whole family, but we are not making a big deal about it until the investigation ends. We wish you happy holidays and hope that your new year keeps you as humbly proud as we are.
If you'd like to stand with me, and we're going to sing hymn 1057 in the teal hymnal, Go Lift It Up. Go lift. Sorry, I missed it. Can we start again? Sure. I didn't know where the note was. Go lift it up, love bless your way. Moonlight, starlight, guide your journey into peace and the brightness of day. Go lift it up, love bless your way. Moonlight, starlight, guide your journey into peace and the brightness of day.
It's now our time for generosity. We offer our gifts of time, talent, and treasure to work for justice, to create a safe space for all who come to explore, and to heal those in need of comfort. We invite you to join us as we take the collection by placing your offering at the back of the church as you leave, or by an online gift at uuflint.org. All gifts are gratefully accepted.
Let us be humble, for the worst things in the world is of the same stuff as we are. Let us be confident, for we too are composed of the same stuff as the stars.
And let us extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Are the words going to be up on the?
Yeah, they are.
Okay. So we're going to try singing this song, Oh Lord, It's Hard to Be Humble. If you'd like to stand up and belt it out, have at it. Words should be up on the screen. Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way. I can't wait to look in the mirror, 'cause I get better looking each day. To know must be a hell of a man. Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble, but I'm doing the best that I can. I used to have a girlfriend, but she just couldn't compete with all these love-starved women who keep clamoring at my feet. Well, I probably could find me another, but I guess they're all of me. Who cares? I never get lonesome, 'cause I treasure my own company. Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way. I can't wait to look in the mirror, 'cause I get better looking each day. To know me is to love me. I must be a hell of a man. Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble, but I'm doing the best that I can. I guess you could say I'm a loner, a cowboy of blood. Don't know this song. I could want to, but I wouldn't stand out from the crowd. Some folks say that I'm egotistical, and I don't even know what that means. Guess it's just something to do the way that I fill out my skin tight jeans. Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way. I can't wait to look in the mirror, 'cause I get better looking each day. To know me is to love me. I must be a hell of a man. Oh Lord, it's hard to be humble, but I'm doing